A transparent web graphic is an image surrounded by transparent pixels, like the one that you see here. The gray and white checkerboard represents transparency in Photoshop. When a graphic like this one is placed on a website, the page background will show through the transparent areas of the image, so that the graphic doesn't appear rectangular. The advantage of using transparent graphics is that they offer visual interest in a web environment that really is dominated by rectangularity. In the shape of browser windows, in many of the rectangular page layouts that you see out there, and particularly in web graphics, which are inherently rectangular unless you optimize them with transparency using the techniques that you'll learn in this chapter. Take a look at the edges of the graphic in this PSD file and you'll see that they look really smooth when viewed at 100%. To show you how that's done, I'm going to turn that black layer back on by clicking the eye icon to its left in the Layers panel, and then I'm going to come in and zoom in on the image by pressing Command plus or Control plus on a PC. And then I'm going to hold down the space bar to temporarily change to the hand tool and move that image up. And you can see that the edges of the purple graphic and the yellow graphic and the orange graphic are all made up of small squares of color. However, when viewed back at 100%, you don't see these squares of color. Instead, you see what appears to be a smooth edge. And the reason is that these edge pixels are filled with varying levels of opacity. So, for example, on the yellow part here, you can see that some of the yellow pixels are opaque. You cannot see through them. And others are semi-transparent. And some are more semi-transparent than others as they move out toward the edge of the graphic. By the way, that's what anti-aliasing is, if you've ever heard that word. It's a gradual fall-off of semi-transparent pixels that makes the edge of pixel-based graphics look smooth. A PSD file like this one supports this kind of multi-level transparency, and that's why graphics like this can look smooth in the PSD source file. But what happens when I convert this source file format, this PSD file, to a web-ready format, like GIF or Ping8? In that case, the edge won't have semi-transparent pixels because those formats don't allow multi-level transparency. To illustrate what I mean, I'm going to go over to the Layers panel and turn off that black layer so that once again I have a transparent graphic, or a graphic with a transparent surrounding area. Then I'm going to go to the File menu and down to Save for Web and Devices. In the Save for Web and Devices window, I'll use the 2-up tab so that on the left I can see the original PSD file with this smooth-edged graphic, and on the right I can see a preview of the image as it will look optimized for the web. Right now this is set to GIF. Let's see what happens if I change the format of the optimized preview to JPEG. Right away I lose the gray and white checkerboard, which means that I no longer have transparent pixels in this image. That's because the JPEG format doesn't support transparency at all. Don't worry, because I'll show you how to simulate the look of transparency in a JPEG in a separate movie in this chapter. But if you really want a graphic to have transparent pixels that allow you to see through to the background behind it, you can't use the JPEG format. Well, what can you use? If I go back to the Format menu and I choose Ping24, I get my transparent pixels back, and the edges of the graphic look pretty smooth. But this isn't a terrific solution either, because unfortunately, although Ping24 supports multi-level transparency, much like the original PSD file, that feature doesn't work in all web browsers. Beyond that, a Ping24 usually makes really big files from Photoshop. So this isn't the solution either. The better choice when you're optimizing a transparent graphic is to optimize it in the GIF or Ping8 formats. So I'm going to go back to this menu and I'm going to choose GIF. By the way, just assume that what I'm showing you in this chapter about GIFs is also true of Ping8s. So with the GIF format, I do have transparent graphics here. But take a look at the edges and you can see that they're really jaggedy. I'll zoom in closer so you can see that by selecting the zoom tool, and I'll click there and zoom in so that you can see that the edges of the transparent graphic that's optimized in the GIF format are really jaggedy, particularly as compared to the nice smooth semi-transparent edges of the original PSD file. Now I should mention that you won't see transparency here at all if this box in the GIF controls is not checked. So you have to have that box checked, but you still have the problem of the jaggedy edges. The good news is that there is a way around that, and that's what I'm going to show you in the movies to come in this chapter, where you'll learn how to simulate smooth-edged graphics by adding a matte color from this field that matches the web page background that you plan to use. And I'll even show you how to make that work against a patterned web page background and when you're using graphics that have soft shadows or glows on them.